And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with former NBA player Paul Mokeski. 12 years in the association. Big Mo has seen it all. But boy, we're going to talk about some stuff tonight that even raises Big Mo's eyebrows as the NBA regular season has come to an end. We got the play-in starting tomorrow, Mo. And coaching carousel is on the move now. That thing's just heating up. Lots to talk about. How you doing, big fella?
I'm good, man. It's starting to get hot here in Las Vegas, up in the 90s like it usually is.
All right. I like that, man.
You
That
coming
golf
out in
ball
about a month?
that golf ball travels far in the desert heat. But speaking of heat, Mo, the heat is on in the NBA, man. Uh, the regular season came to an end last night. We got some coaching situations to get into. I really want to talk to you about some of these playoff scenarios. I know there's some room for upsets considering how wild the West has been. And I want your thoughts on what's going on in the East. But I want to start with a controversy that took place in with the Minnesota Timberwolves over the weekend, and it's big news because one of their star players, a guy they traded, gave up a bunch of assets for, Rudy Gobert, is going to be suspended for the Timberwolves playing game with the Los Angeles Lakers after he punched teammate Kyle Anderson during the final regular season game of the year.
Well, he tried to punch him. It was like a
Well,
little girl. It was a girly punch. It was
yeah,
you know, I mean, how childish can you be? You're in a huddle. You're just trying to get through the season and, stay healthy and, words are exchanged, whatever. And, when I played, you took care of that in the locker room, not in a huddle, and, there's my guy, Chris Finch right there, who's right in the middle of it, looking around like, what happened, man? What are you guys doing? Here he is getting in the huddle, and he hears a jibber jabber, and and then boop. Hey, look at that was a jab and a backup, wasn't it? He was backing up. Oh man, so silly
now,
stuff.
Mo, first of all, tell us, an NBA huddle can get heated, I'm sure,
Oh, for sure.
but
Yeah.
typically something like that, it doesn't get that far. But you got to go. The guys go back and forth. What are you discussing during that minute and a half, whatever you may have during that timeout?
You mean the players?
Yeah.
Well, they're obviously whining to each other about, block some shots or rebound or do this or pass me the ball or, any of that. But they're acting like 10-year-old kids instead of like professional athletes that can sit down and talk and say, hey, listen, you need to be, get my back. You need to be there to protect me, and then I can say, hey, but you got to stay in front of your man better so I don't get in foul trouble. Okay, great. Then okay, whatever. But this is so ridiculous. It's really sad, and I think it's a sad sign of the NBA players in the NBA are so sensitive now. They get all sensitive, and you know, and there was no threat of a fight there. The guy threw a weak punch, and they get separated like always. And I noticed there that Gobert backed up like 20 feet after he threw it. So, you know, but
But
in the
were you
long run,
surprised?
but
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, in the long run, it hurts the team, right? So I think they won the game anyway. I don't know, whatever. But the team feels like they have to suspend Gobert. It's a team suspension, for throwing a punch at a player, which is probably correct, especially in the huddle and during the game. So they're pretty much cooked now. So, they're going to play the Lakers tomorrow night, which is going to be an uphill battle for Minnesota anyway, because I have the Lakers as a strong team right now. And now you handicap yourself. So the setup is 7 plays 8. The winner gets the 7th spot. And the loser takes on the winner of 9 and 10, which is OKC and New Orleans. So really, those 7, 8, you have a buffer, right? So you can lose a game and still win the next game. Well, now pretty much Minnesota's going to lose the Lakers. Forget about it. Lakers get number 7, and they play Memphis, and they're happy about that. And now Minnesota, you're in a one and done now. You're going to play OKC or New Orleans. One game, you lose that, you're done. Your playoffs are over. And if you win, then you got to play Denver, the number 1 team. So, it's just bad timing and childish behavior all around.
Is that something you think, will Chris talk to the team about, about what this situation, try to get them refocused?
Sure. I mean, first of all, he's going to address the situation, probably address the 2 players individually, because there's probably been stuff going on before this, and then address the whole team of, listen, we all have different ideas sometimes. We all have emotions, and we have to keep them in check. We're getting ready to go into playoffs where emotions are high. So technical fouls and ejections in the playoff can lose us a series. And we need to get our egos in check and our feelings in check and play the game and help our team win. That's what we're here for, to win, not to have petty confrontations. And we're moving forward. We don't have Gobert. We're going to try and beat the Lakers. We're going to go to and try and beat the Lakers, and then we'll go from there. But this has to stop now. I mean, I think they're playing in LA, right?
Yeah, they got to go to LA.
So they had to get on that. They probably had practice today and had to get on a plane and as a team and go to fly to LA, which is a pretty long flight from Minnesota, and then watch, then do a breakdown, a scouting report, and video sessions, and get some rest and get ready to play. But this is a distraction that you did not need.
Yeah, I mean, I go ahead.
And then the other guy, I don't know who the guy was, that was frustrated and punched a wall and broke his hand, so he's out too.
Yeah, McDaniel, Jaden McDaniel.
Yeah, so he's not as big a part as Gobert, but he's out, right? So, and Chris is probably saying now, this happened. We're 2 players down, so some guys get the opportunity to step up.
It is a sign of today's NBA, because I get the feeling Don Nelson never had to tell you guys not to get to fighting on the end of the bench. We got the playoffs coming up. Let's not screw this up and get suspended.
No, I mean, we all had a purpose, and he was the leader of the purpose, and we were smart enough, and if you don't like someone on the team, just don't talk to them. Don't talk to them and move on.
Yeah, and by the way, we want to welcome everybody in tonight.
What's up, Chris? What's up, Chris
Wynn, checking in with us. Welcome, Chris, and welcome to all our viewers out there. Welcome to everybody who's checking us out on Believe.com. That's Believe.com, where you get this and all our shows there at BLEAV.com. And Chris wants to know, we're going to get into the playoffs, but since Chris asked so early, what do you think, Mo?
Well, I think, Denver has been one of the best teams, if not the best team in the West for all the season, Chris. And, they have the talent to maybe get through the West. But like I've said all season long, the West is the wild, wild West. I mean, you're looking at teams that can come out of the West, in my opinion. Denver, yes, maybe. Memphis, probably not. Sacramento, probably not. Phoenix, yes. Clippers, yes. Golden State, yes. Lakers, yes. So, the way this is falling, though, Chris, is um, Denver will play probably Minnesota, maybe New Orleans, maybe OKC. They should get through that series pretty well. But then they're going to have to play the winner of Sacramento Golden State, which I believe will be Golden State, and that's another story. Then they'll have to beat Golden State, and then they'll have to win the winner of maybe the Suns, maybe the Clippers. So it's a tough road for Denver this year. Can they do it? Sure. But there's 5 teams out there that can come out of the West.
And we're gonna get into both conferences and get most thoughts on what's happening out east too. But I was surprised you kind of skipped over Memphis there, which is going to be the number 2 seed. You don't think they can win?
I don't think the John Morant thing happened. He's a great player. They have a good team, but they've lost their depth, and they've lost their Steven Adams is hurt. He's out. He's done. So that physicality. He's a guy that's overlooked. 7 foot, physical, looks like Aquaman. And but rebounds, takes up room, space, physical. So when you're playing other teams, if you're playing the Lakers and LeBron or AD or whoever driving into the paint, they don't want to see Aquaman there. So he's not going to be there. That hurts them.
That's a good point, and he's a smart player too, bro. He's been around. He knows what to do out there.
He accepts his role. Rebounds, physical, scores when needed, doesn't take bad shots. And he's gone for the season. Because Memphis, for most of the year before he got hurt, was a well-rounded team. But he's out. There's a big hole in the middle now in Memphis.
Yeah. So there you go, Chris. Appreciate you checking in with us, Mo. But Mo, we're not even with the fight yet. You thought yesterday was the only fight? Did you really think yesterday was the only melee on the sidelines?
I mean, it's like, you know what, too? Like this was, Plumlee and the other guy, and that was more of a violent altercation. That was more of a violent altercation than the Gobert thing, and none of them got suspended, I don't think. But the guy got in Plumlee's face. I mean, that's things you don't do. You can have an argument, disagreement. You can yell, but you don't get in the guy's face. And that's what he did. He got in his face like he wanted to fight. So. The Clippers haven't been right all year, though. Let's face it. They have one of the deepest, most talented teams, but they haven't been right all. There's something wrong with that team, and that right there shows. When that comes out, it's interesting to see Westbrook in that right there, right? He's trying to separate them a little bit. That's he wants to get back in the playoffs and beat the Lakers. So but. I don't know, man. It's a long season. Listen, 82 games, 8 months, travel, up and down, time zones, all that. But you're on the home stretch. You should be focusing on the playoffs. You shouldn't be focusing on what happened in that damn game anyway.
Yeah, because you get pissed off at your teammates, and you get on each other because you're like a family. 82 games, all that time together. You're probably with your teammates more than your family during the season.
Well, just like a family. So, Clippers evidently are a dysfunctional family because in a real family, you have a disagreement, you get mad at each other, you talk it out, and you come to a conclusion or you fix it, right? In a semi, in a non-functional semi-family, you have a disagreement and you scream and yell at each other and you don't listen to each other. In a real dysfunctional family, you have a disagreement and we fight and we punch each other. So pick one. Pick an NBA dysfunctional family. What level you're on.
Yeah. And I hadn't really heard the details of that, but I guarantee you Plumlee was on the right side of that. That guy is a pro, man. I think he's been in the league 9 or 10 years now. Saw him play here in Detroit. All he does is play to the best he can. He's like Adams. He's like Adams.
Yep.
He knows his role. He's going to play the right way.
I'm going to tell you too. Here's my opinion on both arguments, right? So you got Rudy Gobert and guard wing, a center and a wing or guard. You got Plumlee, a center, and another guard or wing. And I guarantee that the freaking little guy was saying, "Why don't you rebound better?" And the big guy, like I would do, would say, "Why don't you stay in front of your man and play to better defense so I get in foul trouble?"
So I don't have to step over the time to block a shot or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but at this time of the season, listen, it's so to win an NBA championship or even be in the running, you got to be healthy, you got to be focused, you got to be on an upswing, you got to be lucky, you got to stay uninjured. A lot of things you have to do. So anything you do that distracts from it is not helping your cause at all.
Yeah. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Well, let's talk about before we get to some playoff prediction. We got some coaching moves going on, and here in Motown, after 5 seasons, Dwayne Casey, who came here as NBA Coach of the Year, is stepping down after 5 seasons. Pistons 17-65 this year. Cade Cunningham, I think he may have played 4 or 5 games this year before he injured his leg and is out for the whole year. They just, even when the team was at full strength, it wasn't a playoff team. But anyway, he's being kicked to the front office. And Paul, I think Casey's a good coach, and I think the Pistons realize that we got to make a change and get somebody else in here. But this guy knows what he's doing. He's just in one of those situations.
Sometimes you make a move to make a move. So Casey's a great coach. He's been Coach of the Year. He knows what he's doing. He had nothing to do with the roster. He had nothing to do with what injuries happened. He was depleted. His roster, I guarantee in training camp, he thought, how are we going to win any games with this roster? He didn't put it together. The general manager puts that stuff together. And, he had nothing to do with the injuries, but that's coaching business in basketball. I've been in it for 23 years, and, here's in the NBA, here's what happens, right? If your team struggles, number one, your assistant coaches get fired. Number 2, your head coach gets fired. Number 3, your general manager gets bumped over. And number 4, your players are addressed. That's the order in which they work. So that's just, I learned a long time ago, when you're a coach, unless you're Popovich or, someone of that stature, you're hired to be fired, especially in the NBA. And there's been many coaches in the NBA that were Coach of the Year one year and fired the next year. It's happened multiple times. So, and it's unfortunate because it's none of his fault, right? But hey, luckily for him, he had a good contract because he's not getting cut loose. He's getting bumped up to the front office. And if I was talking to him, and and if that was me, by the way, I would say, okay, now it's time for me to move into the front office and get another 15 years of a nice job. You make me vice president of whatever you want. And who knows? I mean, they're going to have pretty much the same roster. So how many games did they win this year?
It's 17-65.
Yeah, so next year you're going to hire somebody else. Who knows? Pick a name, right? Mark Jackson, Frank Vogel.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What?
Sarah, pick a name. And you know what? Best case scenario, they win 22 games next year. So what? So if you're looking at the NBA carousel, right? I looked at some names now. Quinn Snyder was the hot name. He was in Utah. He got picked up by Atlanta, right? So Detroit's open. Houston's open. You got the guys that names are out there all the time. Mark Jackson, who did a great job at Golden State. He's been an announcer for years. Frank Vogel, who was with the Lakers and got fired, but he's had a good career. Sam Cassell is an up-and-coming assistant coach that I believe needs a chance to get a head job. Terry Stotts, who was in Portland, and Mike D'Antoni, whose name has passed around forever, or they go with an assistant coach or someone that's younger, and take a flyer on someone like that.
And speaking of, you kind of mentioned Stephen Silas won't be back in Houston. Another young coach with a roster very similar to what they have, in Detroit.
And unlike Casey, who had years left on his contract, he didn't have any more money on his contract, so he was not bumped upstairs. He was not renewed. So see you later.
Yeah. And Steve Schroeder's checking in saying, "What's
up, Steve?
How you doing, man?"
Here's a coaching name I'll throw out there for you too, right? Becky Hammonds.
Woo!
Assistant coach with the Spurs. She won a championship here in Las Vegas with the Aces. She won a summer league championship with the Spurs in Vegas a few years back, and she might be the first female head coach in the NBA. And I'm not so sure. Popovich, Coach Pop in San Antonio is going to hang him up pretty soon. That could happen too. So there's a name to look for. She's just getting inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame too, by the
way. Chris is checking back in. He said a combo of Wembanyama, who the Pistons will have a chance to get in the draft. Kay Cunningham, Ivy, and Jordan. Cunningham, Ivy, and Jordan. They're three good young players. They are a good young group. But I'm taking your word on Wembanyama, Paul. I remember what you said. He might be a great player, or he might be
Porzingis.
Yeah. And
And
you've seen him play up close.
I've seen him in person. I saw a clip the other day that was phenomenal in France. He's playing in the first division of France. He's playing well, which is it's an okay league over in Europe. Spain is better. Italy is better, but France is a pretty good league, and he's playing well. There's a clip of him missing a three-pointer and following the shot and catching it way out here and dunking it back in, which is something not many people can do. But I think that group. The problem is, when Biana is young, they're all young. So that I used to say that in the draft room. We're drafting these players. We're not going to be around to coach them. By the time they're ready to play in 2 or 3 years, we'll probably be fired. So, it would be an exciting group there in Detroit, though. And I would think you would have to go with maybe a younger coach that can develop them, maybe.
And Mo, I saw that video. That video of Wembanyama missing the three, grabbing it, that has been circulating. But as a scout, do you look at that? You just look at that. Okay, that's a good play.
Well,
I can evaluate far beyond that one little splash play.
Oh yeah, he's had many plays but so that shows his athleticism, his bounce, his willingness to go get a rebound. But also, here's something for you. That was from the FIBA three-point line, which is about 1.5 feet shorter than the NBA line.
Yeah.
The guy's got skill, and he could be a franchise maker, or but let's look like the MVP of the Euro Championships a few years back was a young player that won the championship, and he got MVP. I think he was 19 years old or 20. His name was Luka. And Luka is a phenomenal player in Dallas. They're not even in the playoffs. So, it's a long way to go for one player to make a big difference.
Well, with Wembanyama, what do you like about him? If you're scouting him, what you've done, what would you go back and tell your team? Okay, this is what I like. This is what worries me.
Well, I would say, because everyone looks at him and, he's got a great handle and he can dribble the ball. No, not really. Can he rebound the ball, bring the ball down against semi-pressure and make a good decision, good pass? Yes. Can he handle the ball in pick and rolls and with pressure on him? Not yet. No. But so don't over exaggerate what he can do. He's got really deep 3-point range, and he's got that release higher than Dirk's, so no one can block it. He's fearless. He's really really skinny, but he's really really long, and he's not afraid of contact, and he's not afraid of getting his nose bloodied in there. So that's going to get better. His low post game is not very good, and by low post, okay, quiet down. I know there's no low post play now. Low post now in the NBA is about 15 feet out with your back to the basket, like LeBron does, and all that. He really doesn't have that game in him yet. Could he get it? For sure. He's got a quick release, great touch, and the thing that no people aren't talking about that really stood out to me that I would bring up if I was a scout and I was pitching him in the draft room, he is a very, very, very good shot blocker. And there's okay shot blockers, there's good shot blockers, and there's very, very good ones. And the very, very, very good ones have great timing. They can block shots without fouling and not swat it out of bounds and get it back. Bill Russell, right? And he has that in him that a lot of people don't mention. I saw it firsthand. That's one of the things that stood out to me. He can block shots without fouling, and damn man, he's 7'4", but he reaches up. He's 10 feet. So that's something that I would pitch. So don't oversell his dribbling and all that, but don't undersell his value as a defender and rim protector. Now he's gonna get beat up. He's gonna be out physical, but he can still block shots at 7'4" and 10-foot reach. So I would sell that too. And he never got shook. His basketball IQ is high. When I watched him, the Ignite players here in the G League, that's a young G League team, they all try to physical push him, get him frustrated, and he never got frustrated. So he wouldn't be Gobert, who's French, by the way, who I saw next to Wanyame, who he's taller than Gobert and longer, which is freaky because Gobert's a freak. But he would have never thrown a punch in the huddle because he wouldn't have been frustrated.
Mo, we got a lot of comments here I want to get to, and I thank you guys for checking in with them. I'm just wondering, do you like him? Do you like Wembanyama? I want to read one Chris put up. He said a lot of people describe him as a skinny Giannis.
No.
And do you like him, the rookie at OKC that got hurt, and now his name escapes me, from Gonzaga? I'll think of his name. He got hurt this year.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Who didn't play a game yet? Yeah.
Right.
I don't think he's a young Giannis. I don't think he's like that. Young Giannis was super skinny.
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah. But Giannis was really skinny, but more. Giannis was like a athletic, skinny guy that became a stronger physical presence, get to the basket. Wanyama is he's not that. He's never going to be a drive to the basket, dunk on people with strength guy. So I don't, he's more like Chad Holmgren, from Gonzaga that got hurt, but taller and longer.
Wow. Dana Smith. Hey, Dana. Thank you for checking in.
Hey,
Great
Dana,
show. What are your thoughts about the NIL endorsements in college? Dick Vitale commented about the college portal.
Well, Dana, NIL is where it's at in college, and players are going it's going to give players an option rather than go to the NBA or G League. You can make, 500,000, $1 million and staying in college now. And in my opinion, I mean, I didn't have that option, but I loved my 4 years at Kansas, and I would love to stay there, just take tests and enjoy the spring break. And if I could make 700,000, $1 million for that year, that would be even more the better. But it's really putting an advantage back on the higher level teams, because the Kentuckys and the North Carolinas and those teams their alumni are richer, and there are more of them that can support the NIL for their teams and get better players. Now, what you said there about Dick Vitale and the college portal and the transfer portal is what equalizes everything, because you see there's almost 2,000 players from college in the transfer portal this year. 4 players from Kansas are in the transfer portal, so players get frustrated. They just want to move, and now there's good players that you can get on your team. Look at San Diego State and look at UConn. They all had at least 3 transfer portals that came in a year ago. This year were new and were main parts of their team. And that's how you can build a team quickly with the transfer portal. It used to be you built your team quickly by getting junior college players, guys that were older and played junior college. Now it's the transfer portal. So if you look at that question, Dana, it's like kind of NIL gives the resources back to the big schools, and then transfer portal kind of balances it out. So it's an interesting dynamic that's happening in basketball everywhere now.
And just to kind of round that off, Mo, that's kind of what we talked about doing the Final Four run. When we saw some of these upstart teams that had a lot of transfers on, that has kind of made these guys able to win a game. They may not win a series, but they got good enough players to win a game.
Yeah, and you like in college, it's hard to in old school, you recruit a high school player, he's probably not going to be able to help you for 2 years. Well, you can go in the transfer portal, and that guy can come in and be your leading scorer this year, and it happens. I mean, Kansas, the disappointment I had and everything. They had a transfer from Texas A&M, I think. That was their 3rd leading scorer at Kansas. So even stuff out.
Hey, Paul, if you were a college coach at a big time program out of Kansas, that's your alma mater, or UCLA or Kentucky, would you go after the one and the guy you know is probably only going to be there for 1 year?
Depends how good he is. I mean, if he can play and be a starter for a year, and is the right attitude and fit for me, because let's face it, a lot of those one and dones think they're already in the NBA, and if they have that attitude, I don't want to deal with them. I would rather go get if say I'm at UCLA, I'm gonna get this 5-star one and done who thinks he's all that. I think he's good, and he'll probably be one and done and go into the middle of the first round. Okay, he can help my team win, but his attitude is going to be different. And I could go get someone that maybe played at North Carolina last year and averaged 12 points and 8 rebounds. I'm gonna go get that kid. He can help me win right now, and I'll keep my job.
Yeah. Dana Vitale does not like the portal. It gives the other kids opportunities. Coaches change job all the time. I agree with you, Dana. I like the fact that kids get other opportunities if coaches get portals. I also think it's a downside too, though, Mo, because it makes it so easy for you to just kind of not push through on some issues, on some situations.
I think you can give up easily, and I think there's value in fighting through some circumstances and succeeding at the end. There's value in that, and that's basketball value and life value, by the way. Because when you're in life, there is no transfer portal in life. You have your life. That's it. You can't transfer portal. So you got to stick it out and get better. I mean, long story short, my second year at Kansas, I struggled. I came home for Christmas, and I almost transferred, because I was frustrated. And I'm so glad I didn't. And I'm glad I stuck it out. It made me a better player, made me a better person. And I think it used to be a red flag that players in college transfer 2 times. Now there's guys that transfer 4 times. However, I think they're changing that, Dana. Next year, I think you can only transfer twice. That's all. So that's going to eliminate some of that.
Chris, I have to admit, I'm not a monster fan of the portal. Has a feel of guys giving up easily on their schools, kind of what you said, especially the guys. That's kind of what Mo
And Chris, that's a lot. That's AAU. I've worked with AAU before, and the young basketball in the country, and there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad. And by bad, I mean in the AAU. I hate to say LeBron, but someone, you can players bounce around teams. I'm going to play with the New Mexico Roadrunners this weekend, and we're going to play in a tournament in Las Vegas. And then I'm going to play with the California Cappers and go play in North Carolina next week. I'm just going to play on all these teams, instead of one team. And now it's carried over. The portal does that for college players, I think.
Yeah. Dana Smith, thank you. No, thank you, Dana. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate all you guys' comments out there.
These are my guys, man. These are my guys.
Steve Schroeder already making his prediction. Marquette's going to win it all next year.
I like Steve. Nevada Smith, my good friend, is assistant there. I thought they had a shot this year. They were playing well at the right time, but upsets this year were crazy. But yeah, I think Marquette has it. How about Marquette and Kansas in the finals next year? Yes.
And Mo, Steve also has one more. Milwaukee and Boston. Who you guys picking? Well, you guys know. You know who Mo is picking.
Come on, man. And Steve, I'm going to tell you something else. Why? Because when you look at the brackets, in my opinion, Milwaukee and Boston are the 2 top teams. They're deep. They're talented. They've been there before. Philadelphia is right behind them, right? So if you look at brackets in the NBA playoffs to get to the finals, you have to play for another 2 months. Your season is another 2 months long. Couldn't be 28 games. So you need to get through series as quickly as you can, injury-free, and on an upswing. Well, let's look at the past that they have. So, Milwaukee's going to play, Miami or Atlanta in the first round, and then they're going to play the winner of the Cavs-Knicks, right? Okay, there's 5-6 game series there, but come on, man, I don't think Miami, Atlanta, Cavs, Knicks are going to take the Bucks to 7 games. So that's their road to the Eastern Finals. Whereas Boston is going to play Miami or Atlanta probably in the first round. Then they're going to play the winner of the Nets and Philly, which in my opinion is going to be Philly. So before you're going to get to the Bucks, you're going to have a 7-game series, button heads with Philly. Boston is. And guys can get hurt and get fatigued. And so hopefully they'll be all beat up by the time they get the Bucks. So there's another, not only because I am a Buck, but because that kind of scenario too.
Yeah, and let's get to the playoffs. Let's start with the play-ins, and Mo, I'm gonna just throw the matchups out to you, and get your thoughts on them as we tip everything off tomorrow. 7:30 first game. The 8th seed Atlanta Hawks at the 7th seed Miami Heat. Who wins that game?
Miami is a mystery to me this year.
Miami's at home. Miami's at home.
Yeah, they're at home. They've had talent. I don't know why they're. To me, Miami is like the Clippers. They have a good roster, good talent, good coaches, and they haven't succeeded. So my gut says Miami, especially at home, but I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta upsets them. But you know what? In the NBA, people that don't know, in the NBA, there's a lot of cities that cause problems to teams. LA, Miami, and Atlanta. So that could be a factor too, depending on how young your team is.
Yeah, I think the Heat will be. I think the Heat will get him tomorrow.
Are they healthy though?
Miami
Is it George hurt or?
well, Paul George is hurt in Philly. I mean, in Paul
Yeah.
George is going to miss the first series in L.A.
Yeah, so that affects them. But I think someone got hurt in Miami too. I'm not sure.
I'll check that out. But let's go to game two. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Number 8, Timberwolves at the Lakers. Well, the Lakers really improved. They started out 2-10. They were 3-13. They actually finished 4 games over 500. I never thought they'd sniff 500.
Well, I never thought they'd be able to dump Westbrook because no offense to Westbrook, right? He's a good player. He competes and all that. He didn't fit with the Lakers. No, he can't shoot. Makes bad decisions. LeBron wants to handle the ball. He just didn't fit. Never did. So they were always trying to squeeze a square peg in a round hole, and it was frustrating for everybody. So he's not there. And then they had some good young talent on the Lakers, but it was young. They made some trades and got some older, mature talent that plays defense and has maturity and have been there before. And they picked up D'Angelo Russell, who is a very, very good player. So their roster looks 10 times better than it did 2 months ago, which is a credit to the GM there. And if AD can stay healthy, they can make a run at the West for sure.
And so it's just getting him off the roster, and they added good players, just changed that whole team.
There's a team is a unique thing, it's talent. It's talent that fits in well, and there's a feel. Like you could tell, look at the Dallas Mavericks. Look at how frustrated they were. Every game was like frustration city. And you got to play 80 games, you get frustrated, it's not fun. Sometimes you get better by eliminating some of the frustration. Not Westbrook as the person, but just Westbrook as the fit, trying to make him fit, trying to make him fit, trying to make him fit. You get frustrated. So now you don't have to make him fit. Can he come off the bench? Is he a starter? Does he make too much money? Blah, 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 blah. You don't have to think about that anymore. You just got to think about winning games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, Ricky, I mean, NBA is different than people think. It's on the court, games, yeah, but it's practices, locker room, airplanes, hotels, meetings in the morning, all that stuff is all in that to make everything go like the way you want it to go. It's not just talent on the court.
Yeah. No doubt about it. And he is he's a great example of that. Okay, let's get to the you got the Lakers winning that one tomorrow. And Pelicans did a good job with their young roster. They didn't have Chet Holmgren all year. Uh, they got him to play in, which I think is a success for them. So whatever happens from here is really, I mean, they're kind of playing with house money. They finished 40. New Orleans 40. Once again, Zion Williamson has not been able to stay healthy for the Pelicans. Your thoughts on that game?
Well, I think, Zion just can't stay healthy. His body is not built for basketball. He lands too hard, all that stuff. And OKC, you look at the average, their age is like a college team, 19, 20. They have all this young talent. So if you can get them, they get in the playoffs, if you can get them to win a game and get some experience, then that's all building for next year. And they also have like 5,000 draft picks. So, so they have some value there. But for a young team, they've come a long way. I think they could beat New Orleans, and then it'll be interesting to see Minnesota after they lose to the Lakers. If they get Gobert back, that would be a good game, Minnesota against OKC. So we'll see on that one.
Okay. All right. And then after that, let's get to some of the playoff scenarios that we do know. We'll stay in the East. Starting Saturday, the Nets and Sixers. These two teams have a lot of history with each other, considering Ben Simmons and James Harden used to play for the respective teams.
Yeah, I mean, is Ben Simmons playing?
No, he's out for the year too, man.
He might never play a game again. Sorry, he might never play again. But I mean, the Nets, after that big trade and after the Ben Simmons deal and after KD demanding out and Kyrie demanding out and getting rid of Harden, they did a great job of ending up where they ended up. They have a lot of good players that, they don't have superstars anymore. But you know what? Before they did the Harden, KD, all that, they were known as a team of good players with a mentality of winning mentality and building. That's what they were. Well, guess what? That's what they are again. But however, Shangri-La and everything, they're not going to beat Philly. So, I see that as a 5 or 6 game series. Philly getting primed for the Boston series next. Philly, and B's playing great. They got a deep roster. Maxi's playing great. Harden is leading the league in assists again by 11 something. So he's actually filled his role like he wanted to. I think they will have to have him step up. If they're going to beat Boston, he needs to have some games where he scores 30, which he hasn't done lately. But Philly will take care of that series pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, it looks like they're on a collision course with the Celtics, who are going to have to face either the Heat or Hawks in that series that starts Saturday.
Yeah, I think
the Celtics going to beat either one of those teams.
And the deal with the Celtics is, here's what you don't want to mess around. We don't want to mess around. If we can sweep them, great. 5 games at the most, gentlemen sweep. Just get it over with so we can prepare for Philly. That's what their mentality is. And if you look at their team, I mean, and they got better too. I mean, I'm looking at their roster, right? You got Tatum, you got Brown, you got Smart, you got Robert Williams, who's back at the center position. You got Brogdon, who's a great addition. You got Derek White from last year, Grant Williams from last year. You picked up Mike Muscala, who's a great player, Al Horford, and then Blake Griffin has his 5th or 6th life, right? So they're just a deep veteran team. That they're going to make their run at the championship, and I think that Boston Philly series is going to be like old times. Robert Parrish and Moses Malone and Bird and Dr. J and not those kinds of players or personalities, but that kind of battle. I can see that going 7 games. And the fans in Philly and the fans in Boston, it's going to be like old school. I look forward to that series.
Yeah. I think another good matchup is going to be this 4-5 matchup with the Knicks, the 5 seed, and the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I mean, part of the Mavericks problem is they let Brunson go, who's having a career season and has scored, I think, 60 or whatever like that. And what's the other player for the Knicks?
Julius Randle?
Yeah, he just had 50 or something. So, and what's really neat is getting the New York Garden back in the playoffs and seeing Spike Lee on the court. And, they've been around. They have an old school coach. And then you have the Cavs, who are one of the most exciting young teams in the league and probably can put 5 guys on the court that could compete with everybody. They're just not as deep as a lot of teams. But you know what? The Knicks aren't either. So that's going to be an interesting coaching matchup. It's going to be interesting young versus old. But, either one of those, they're just preparing to get blown out by the Bucks. So no worries.
Hey, Mo, and now Saturday, a Western Conference matchup, and here's the chance for the first so-called upset because the 6 seed Warriors are going to open up against the 2 seed, the number 2 seed Sacramento Kings. It's been a great season for the Kings in the playoffs, first time in 20 years.
Yeah, Sacramento's the 3rd seed. Yeah,
third seed, yes.
Yeah, and Sacramento had a great year. Coach Brown did a great job with that group. They can really, really score, but they don't play very much defense. So guess what the Warriors do? They can really, really score, and they don't play much defense. So, and if we get in that type of game, I'm picking Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the Warriors over Sacramento pretty handily. The problem with the Warriors, that's another one of my old teams, though. I don't know what the hell is going on the road where they can't win a road game. It's ridiculous. Their record, they had the worst road record of anybody. Now, they cleaned it up and had a couple good road wins at the end of the season. But, I mean, you're going to have to win one because Sacramento has the home court. So, that could throw a little twist in it. But I have the Warriors with their experience and their scoring being able to come out of that series.
Yeah. And their experience seems to really look like it's going to be a factor in this series.
And here's a factor, too. And hopefully they get Wiggins back. Golden State needs to get Wiggins back, who was a big factor last year and has been having some problems. And also Gary Payton II, who they traded for late in the season, who's been hurt. If they get him back, he's a defensive-minded player. And a player they all love. That's 2 big factors. If they get those guys back, the Warriors are a threat in the West for sure.
Okay. We talked about the Bucks are going to play the 8th seed in the East, and they're going to handle whomever they see. As well as the Nuggets, they'll get the 8th seed out of the West.
As long as the Lakers, if the Lakers are the 8th seed, I can see them upsetting Denver. But I think the Lakers will be the 7th seed. So yeah.
Okay, Lakers Timberwolves winner will take on the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
You're not too high on the Grizzlies.
Not with Adams out. Ja Morant, one of the most exciting players and everything. But do you think the Lakers are afraid of Ja Morant?
No.
I mean, if AD stays healthy, they get D'Angelo Russell back. LeBron is playing through whatever injury he has. The role players they have. Memphis is not at full strength, so that could be a good series. But I have the Lakers coming out of that series too. Maybe I'm old school. I got the Warriors and Lakers. I don't know.
Another good matchup, Mo, to go as we look at our final series. The Clippers and the Suns. This series starts this Sunday. The 5 seed Clippers at the Suns. Suns are 8-0 when Kevin Durant plays, and he will be playing. But the Clippers are a dangerous team. Although they won't have Paul George in this series.
Yeah, that hurts them. So Kawhi Leonard has to step up, and please no load management, Kawhi during the playoffs. Come on, man. But the Clippers are a mystery too, just like Miami, because you look at their roster at the beginning of the year, and the money they spent on the Clippers roster is amazing. Not having Paul George is going to hurt them. But they can give the Suns problem. But look at the Suns. I mean, they had to give up a couple role players that hurt them, but they kept their core together. They got Chris Paul, one of the better point guards, getting older, maybe injury prone now. He's still one of the best point guards in the league when he's healthy. Booker, who is one of the best scorers in the league. He matches with anybody, right? Then you got AJ Ayton, who is one of the better centers and shot blocker, rebounder, those 3 spots. And then just to add, you picked up KD one of the best players in basketball, period. And he can
Yeah.
play point guard or five, wherever you want him, and score 40. So, that roster right there is if they stay healthy, they're dangerous. That could be a great if the Suns stay healthy, that could be a short series. If they're banged around a little bit, it could be a really, really good series to watch.
Chris, oh come on, man! I'm sorry, but when I think of the kids,
I
immediately think of Kenny Smith and Ricky Pierce.
Why don't you think of Vlade Divac and Chris Webber and Stojakovic and those guys, man, when they were good? Come on, Chris.
And then he goes on. Clippers just like the Kings. A legacy of terrible kings, but no Benjamin and Keith.
I mean, it seems like poor Obama, right? The owner spent like $8 trillion. And when he picked up Kawhi Leonard, he would have thought he won the championship, but he didn't know about Kawhi's load management.
But things change. You remember, Mo, when we were in college, Tampa Bay was the worst team in the NFL. I think they lost like 26, 20, 30 straight games in a row. And you remember they asked John McKay, the former USC coach, who was coach of the Bucks, they said, Coach McKay, what do you think about your team's execution? He said, I'm all for it. And now people think of Tampa Bay as a model franchise of stability. So things can change, Chris.
Yeah, for a little while they did. They don't think of that anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, well, number 12 is gone too. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it's exciting. I mean, 10 years, whenever I was with the Mavericks, I mean, we played Kings in a really good playoff series, and their crowd in Sacramento is phenomenal. And, it's good to get like Sacramento's back in, the Knicks, teams like that have been out for a while. So,
and Golden State better not sleep on the Kings, because the Kings can score.
Yeah,
that's what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I say Wiggins is important, and Peyton II is important because let's face it, that series is going to be a shootout, right? Usually in the playoffs you get low hundreds, 105, 108. These games are going to be in the 130s probably.
Yeah, the 2000 Kings, they were fun to watch.
Yep.
Jason Williams, Pazier, Sewell.
Doug Christie on defense. Bobby Jackson off the bench. Yeah.
Oh man, he was a good player.
Yeah.
Hey, talk about know your role, Bobby Jackson.
Yep, off the bench, scored 25, faster than you can turn your head.
Know your role. Man, Mo, this hour has just jetted by as usual. Just some tremendous questions and comments from the viewers out there. And man, we thank you guys for each and every one.
Spread the word, guys. Spread the word, man. We're on every Monday.
Yeah, come back and see us next Monday. We'll be here. Chris says Bobby Jacks in Minnesota. Yeah, he played in Minnesota too. Yeah, come back next Monday. We'll be here. And you never know when you might see it. If there's just some breaking news, me and Mo will get on here and break this stuff down for you too. So go to our Facebook page. We Got Next at Facebook with Paul Mokeski and Rickey Hampton. You can get us there. And Chris, thank you very much. Fun watching. Listen, guys, thank you, Chris. And don't forget, you can get us on the Believe Sports Network. That's BLEAV.com. In fact, I'm gonna type it in right now. Please.com.
We're on iHeartRadio, Apple Radio, we're on all those. This is live, and those are all podcast tapes.
Yeah, so in all those places you can find us. But Mo, I got to get out of here. I got another show coming up. Thank you so much.
Because you're in such demand, man.
Yeah. For Big Mo, the great Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Peace, everybody. Have a great evening.